Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm doing a review on the Boxing Bar Viper Cobra Reflex bag. So stay tuned. Alrighty, so before I do the review, I want to give you guys a quick close-up of the Reflex bag. Starting from the top, you do have the foam ball. It does have a little bit of a texture on the exterior. Moving down, you have a foam collar for protection up top on the upper portion of the metal pole. You do have the actual Reflex spring itself with plastic end caps on both sides. It goes down to the lower portion of the pole, height adjustment knob. You also have the boxing bar right here that has the UK flag as well as boxing bar printed on that. That goes all the way down into this plastic mounting piece, and it utilizes a Allen head machine screw on the exterior, so basically locks in this larger pole right here, and it is very thick and robust and a nice hard piece of aluminum, billet aluminum, so it does not feel cheap at all. And then you also have hex head machine screws that mounts this plastic piece to the base at the very bottom. Underneath this, if you were to unscrew these machine head bolts and you lift it up, that's where you would actually fill this with sand or water. I filled mine up with water. And then at the very bottom, it just says boxing bar .com Viper. This is their Viper Reflex bag. When it's fully filled, my best guess is that the base is probably around 150 pounds. It is very stable. It's probably one of the most stable water bases I've used when it comes to Cobra bags, and I've used several. So in terms of a Cobra bag that is not mounted or fixed directly to the concrete floor, and you need a base, this one's definitely very heavy, which is awesome because you don't have to worry about the vibration when you're hitting the bag. The drawback is moving it can definitely be a little bit harder because of the weight. So there you have it. Let's go ahead and do the review. Hey guys, Carlo here. Today I'm doing a review on the Boxing Bar Viper Cobra Reflex bag. This retails for 229 British pounds. Once you convert it over to US dollars, it's about 294 US dollars, just depending on the currency exchange rate at that time. Now, before I go further into the review of this bag, I did want to mention that this is the original version of their Viper Reflex bag. They have recently upgraded it within the last month or so with an upgraded spring, as well as the ball is no longer going to be a foam ball, it is now inflated. So with the upgraded spring as well as the new ball, it moves much faster than the version that I have here. So I did want to mention that. The reason I decided just to review this, even though this version of the bag has been essentially discontinued, is that it does share some of the same architecture with the newer version. It does still have what looks to be the same base, as well as the base plate, the base mounting pole. So there are a lot of shared pieces with the original that I figure would be worth mentioning in this review video. That way you guys can kind of get your wrap your head around it and get an idea about this bag. The other thing is that this company Boxing Bar, they're actually based out of the UK. So a lot of us here stateside, we don't get the exposure to this Viper Reflex bag like we would, like, say, the Fierce Reflex or the Keyless bag, or the Valley Sports, or any of those other bags that you may see. So I thought that was cool for me able to review this, to give my thoughts on this particular brand, just because you don't see it as frequently stateside as you probably would over there in the UK. I know there was a couple videos a few years ago. I remember Conor McGregor was using this bag and several other boxers as well. I think Tyson Fury, maybe there was a video of him using this bag as well, if I can recall. But I did want to give you guys just kind of the gist of that when it comes to this bag itself. Another thing to mention is I've had this bag since the beginning of January. Earlier in the video, I showed you guys me putting it together, taking it out of the box and installing it. That was about 2 months ago. So I've had about 2 months of seat time with this bag, using it here in my garage when I train at home, to kind of get an idea of how this works. So that way you guys know that I've been using it for a good amount of time right now, so I can kind of speak on the durability, what I do like and what I don't like with the bag. Now, first things first, the bag itself up here, this upper portion is about 9 inches in height from the bottom to the top of the bag and about 7 inches in diameter. One thing about this bag that is different is that oftentimes a lot of the bags you get from other brands, you can actually remove the ball from this upper pole. In the case with this one, it's actually mounted to this pole. Now, technically, if I wanted to, I could probably get like a screwdriver or something sharp to try to pry this ball off the upper pole, but it is actually like mounted on there and like sealed. So there's really no way to get that off unless you kind of pry it or break it off of that. I did show you guys that foam collar that goes around to protect that. So if you're shooting your shots up here, you're punching, and you kind of go low, you don't end up injuring your hand or do damage to your gloves. You do have the spring in the middle. Height adjustment wise, you do have a full extended height adjustment of about 72 inches to the top of the bag. So you're looking at anybody, you know, that I can say is about maybe 6'2" to 6'3" that would benefit from this in terms of the ball at least being their height. I'm 5'8", so you can see how tall the bag is compared to me height wise. At its lowest setting, it is about, I want to say 60 inches when I measured it from the ground to the top of the ball. So again, you know, maybe somebody that's about 5 feet tall, maybe 4'8", in that range, all the way to about 6'3", I would say that would be a good range in terms of height wise who can use the bag and it be an actual good experience. Because if you're too tall and the bag is sitting low, yes, you can technically still hit it, but you know, in terms of like your head movement and all that, it's going to be just too low. It's going to be swinging down here at your shoulders rather than at your face, which kind of defeats the purpose of at least the defense portion of the bag. So you simply just unscrew that machine screw at the bottom with the handle, and you can adjust the height with the bag. The bottom base is probably one of the most durable, most robust bases I've seen for any Cobra bag that comes with a plastic filled base. I filled it up with water. It took a while to fill this one up just because how large it is. And this thing is really sturdy. It does not use suction cups. It's just filled with either water or sand. Obviously, if you were to fill this with sand, it'll be extremely heavy. Even with water, it's very heavy, and it doesn't really vibrate really at all. The drawback to that is that it is super heavy. So if you plan on getting this like on a different elevation in your house, if you're like a 2-story or even a 3-story house, or maybe you live in an apartment and you're on the 2nd or 3rd floor, it's not going to be heavy getting it up there if you don't have water in it yet. But say you do bring it up there and you fill it up, it's going to be really hard for you to get this down unless you have somebody helping you, because it's just how heavy it is. So if you do live like in an apartment or just on like a 2nd-story house and you need to be able to bring it downstairs for whatever reason, you're probably going to have to empty it out every single time just because of how heavy this is. Unless you're just like the world's strongest man and you can lift 150 to 200 pounds like at an awkward position with water sloshing around. It's very heavy in that regard just because of how awkward it is. If it was 150 pound like a dumbbell where it's all concentrated in one spot and you can lift it, that's different. But because the weight and the water spread out throughout the entire base, it makes it just very hard, and you could do you definitely injure your lower back doing that. But the base on here is actually probably one of my favorites. And even this lower pole that mounts into the mounting bracket is made of steel. It's all real solid. I believe these poles here, I thought originally these were aluminum, but these are steel as well. So everything on here just feels really premium. The spring on here is made out of steel. I do wish that these plastic end caps on the springs weren't plastic. I wish they maybe were like a billet aluminum or maybe some type of like hardened rubber. It just feels a little bit cheap, all things considered. It does feel very premium in terms of the actual build of the Cobra bag. So let me go ahead and put my gloves on real quick, and then I give you guys kind of the breakdown on how well this thing performs. So when you start punching the bag, it does have a very heavy feel to it. If there was another bag I can compare it to give you guys an idea, if you've had a chance to hit it already, the ringside Cobra bag. It kind of feels like that because of the foam ball, and it just has a little bit more of like a heavier mass feel, where if you hit the Fierce Reflex, the Valley bag, the Keyless bag, those are much quicker and just feel lighter to hit. So you get much more quicker reaction time with those. This one, it feels very heavy when you punch it. And you can just see it has a lot of mass. The big drawback is that I feel it is pretty slow, especially compared to like the Fierce Reflex bag. I have the Valley bag right here in the back. It's definitely not as fast as those, and that's why I think Boxing Bar decided to upgrade it and put the new spring with the new bag up top, because they obviously want to compete with the other brands and have that same fast reflex performance. But I think that's going to be the big drawback with this bag, is just it's slower. Again, you do get a more pronounced punch or hit when you land your punch, so you can definitely feel it. But it's just kind of a slow-moving bag, and you can hit it with combinations, but you kind of have to slow your punches down a little bit, or should I say, not punch as hard, for the bag to come back a little bit quicker. Just basically little taps for it to kind of move. You can definitely work on your head movement, which is great. So in terms of like your defense and slipping and moving, it works great. Slipping your head. And if you get punched in the head too, or hit in the face, what is it? It's definitely gonna hurt, because this bag is all solid. So that's a good thing. But it's definitely not as quick, which I think is going to be the main drawback. And hopefully I can get the faster spring, which was going to bring to the next thing I want to discuss, is you can actually keep the base, and you can also purchase the upgraded spring as well as the ball separately, and they can ship it to you. So you essentially don't have to buy the entire thing all over again. You can email them, and then they can quote you on just getting the spring as well as the new ball if you have this whole thing, the original already, and don't want to have to repurchase a whole new system. So the other thing about this Cobra bag is I feel that at the price point that it's at, it kind of fills a good void, because when you look at some of the other Cobra bags out there, you have obviously Fierce. I know that's probably one of the more popular ones, and that's over $500 now for like their Pro Elite. I can't even remember. They had so many different versions of it, like a Youth, a Pro Elite, I forgot. But I think they have some new ones coming out. But anyways, those are like over $500, and they're nice bags, don't get me wrong. And then you have like the Valley bag, the Cobra bag, which is I think a little bit over $200, anywhere between $200-300. You can get the modular Keyless bag from Reedy Keyless, and that's a pretty good price too. I think once everything's said and done, you can get that for around like $200 if you buy all the parts for it. So I mean, at the price point that this is at, I think it's actually at a pretty solid price point, especially for you guys over there in the UK. If you guys can get the upgraded version of it, the new version that's out now, even at the price of 229 British pounds, I think that's very competitive. All things considered, especially with like how durable this base is, and it feels very solid. When you're moving it around, it doesn't feel like a cheap toy, which is what I like about this bag. So for the cost of it, once I get the newer version of it with the newer upgraded spring, I'll redo the video and kind of give you guys my thoughts on that. That's what I'm really looking forward to. But overall, man, I'm pretty impressed with this bag, with everything that it comes with. If you were to put this next to like the ringside bag, I would probably choose this over the ringside, just because I feel like they're very similar. But I feel like the build on this one is better, in my opinion, just a better quality build with this boxing bar bag compared to like the ringside or even the Title Reflex bag, which I did a review on years ago. So overall, pretty impressed and looking forward to trying the newer version of this. So if you guys have any questions or comments, you guys know what to do. Put them down below in the comments box. I'll put the link in the description box so you can find this boxing bar Viper Cobra Reflex bag. I'll see you guys later. Peace.